There is the water service area question and also the general issue with the city and their application for the Lake Michigan diversion. What is your position on the WSA, and if you support the city's application, specifically, how do you think the town can affect in a positive way the city's application? Finally, does the town being in or out of the WSA hurt or help the city's application?
Okay. First of all, I believe that every resident is entitled to clean water. I don't think we should divide the town into factions. I think everybody is entitled to that particular right. So therefore, I would agree with the water service area as it is, by including the entire town. I also agree that the city is going to have some challenges with that. It's probably a 60-40 at best that they're going to get it, but they've said in their application that if the water service agreement is not, and the Great Lakes Pact is not accepted, it says right in the application that the service area is gone. So the Plan B that's been touted is not a viable solution. There are several solutions that the city is looking at. The most and the lowest environmental impact that's listed on the application is a combination of blending the deep water aquifers and the riverbed inducement. So I would support helping the city in any way that I can to get those going, but I would not support in any way, shape, or form the Plan C that should that not happen for the high-capacity shallow aquifer wells. So I do think that there's a lot that the town can do to help the city promote that. I do think that by getting that relationship together with them and trying to be proactive and working out a solution before it comes down the pipe is something that we all need to work on.
Angie.
Well, it's coming down the pipe, and if anybody doesn't think so, you know, read the newspaper. I mean, they were already talking about Plan B, and they called it Plan B, January of this year. They bought 13 acres of properties in the Vernon Marsh, formerly known as the Lathers property, for over $500,000 in October of 2012, for 13 acres. They're serious about our water. They're planning to take our water. And if anybody thinks they're not, you know, the evidence is all there. I mean, then you're simply trying to avoid avoid what's coming. But that really wasn't the question. The question was the water service area, and I think we should address the question. My position on the water service area, I think, is very well known. It was based on research. The research because we knew what the parameters were of what the compact allowed for a diversion. Diversion water is not supposed to be used for expansion. When you look at a map of the town of Waukesha and the city of Waukesha, for the 8 states that all have to agree unanimously for this diversion, the city looks like it's doubling its size. That's not allowed. The second important component of getting diversion water is proving a need, that you have no other option for water. We have no such ability to demonstrate that. In fact, their plans are to come into the town of Waukesha if the city is not successful with the diversion and take our shallow aquifer water. They are already taking 20% of the city's water right now is coming out of our shallow aquifer. 20%. They'll take up to 10 million gallons a day with full bore. So we need to help the city. Helping the city is a smaller service area, which is what we tried to share before. It's very important that they're successful. That's the only thing that protects us from them coming to Plan B and our shallow aquifer. They may very well be required to take us out if they're allowed to continue their application at all.
Thank you. Joe?
The question basically breaks down to 3 pieces. One, do I agree with the water service area? I agreed to put on January 24th the limited service area in. I agreed to that limited service area because although we had been asking for 18 months for the DNR to issue a conditional approval, meaning that we would approve the entire town be included if and only if the city was successful in getting a diversion from Lake Michigan, and we were refused to get that type of a conditional approval for 18 months. After that vote took place and then the change of the election, John Merrick and I went in April and had another sit down with the DNR, sewer pack, the city, and the county, and the discussion was back to this question, can we get a conditional approval? So that if they don't get their diversion, we would go back to a limited or restricted area, which was what the recommendation was from our consultants at the time. And finally, they gave us that, which made way for me to vote and support an all-included area because it protected our groundwater while also giving property owners the right, if they so decided, to annex into the city and obtain city services. That's a land rights issue, and you have that. Town board should not be involved in restricting that. But again, the conditional approval was what gave us the ability, or gave me the ability to vote in favor of that. The second part is how do we affect the application? In September of 2013, Dan Dupniak met with the Council of Governors for the Great Lakes Compact, and he was taken to task exactly for including us in the application. Shortly thereafter, 3 primary members of the city's administration have resigned and retired. They were critical in establishing their plan for water, and they've been there 30-some years serving the city. Suddenly they resign after they're taken to task on that issue.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you. I believe the town is currently in the best position that it can be in, being included in the water service area if the diversion application is approved and out if denied. If the application is approved, it gives town residents an option for an alternate water source for the next 50 to 75 years. And I want to stress that that's an option, not a requirement. Several alternatives are included in the application, including the big 19-well plan that's being heavily publicized. In fact, that 19-well plan that's being heavily publicized has already been excluded from consideration because the city acknowledges that it's not a feasible option. It would just draw down the aquifer too quickly. It's still included in the application because when you submit the application, you're required to show that you considered all alternatives, both good and bad. That's very, very common in large capital project government applications. It also happened with the highway, with the bypass, where they considered bringing the bypass through town on Grandview, and that was dismissed. What can the town do to increase the likelihood of the application being approved? Quite frankly, the answer to that is to do nothing. If the town would choose to pull themselves out of the water service area now, it would likely set the application process back far enough that the city would not be able to achieve their goal of getting the water by June 30th of 2018. In order to get that through and the capital project completed within that time frame, they need to start that project probably by around the first of the year. So frankly,
You have to stop you there.
thank you.
Thank you.